And the next question is, what can I do to change my thoughts and mindset?
Yeah, this is really important. A lot of stress management sort of books that you might read, they talk about taking a deep breath and some of the other stuff I mentioned, like exercise, and those are all really important. But if you don't go to the root of your stress response and look at how you think about your life and what is your general mindset, then basically you're just always doing damage control. You're not really getting to the underlying thoughts that make you feel stressed out. So we have a variety of different ways to do this, and one of them is looking at what we call attributions. And attributions are how do you account for the things that happen? How do you explain? What is the story you tell yourself about stuff that happens in your life? So can you see the problems more, like I said before, as a challenge? Can you stop worrying about the things you can't control? I've heard so many people, or at least observed in my practice and then just in my everyday life, people getting really worked up over stuff that they, first of all, hardly affects them in their daily life, and secondly, they have no control over, like weather, traffic, taxes, things like that. So it's really important to always pay attention to the idea that controllability is a key to stress management and letting go of the things you can't control and taking steps to work on the ones you can. So we call that sometimes reality checks, where you say, is this really a potential harm to me or my family, or is this something that is not such a good situation, but it's really not something that's going to directly have an impact on me. Another exercise that we do in cognitive psychology is exploring worst-case scenarios. Is this really, where is this really going to turn out? Is this truly going to be a catastrophe? And just being very pragmatic and realistic about the things that stress you out. One of the things that people get really hung up on is other people's behavior and feelings. And once we accept the fact that we can't really control other people, we have to control how we respond to them, you feel a lot more empowered in these situations. And that way you're not expending all of your energy and resources to trying to change the world when what you really need to do is change what's going on inside of you.
Right.
And then we have different, once you work on these attributions and trying to reframe things as less threatening and more of a challenge, then you work on your coping skills. And these are called skills for a reason. It's not, nobody's born like automatically knowing all of this stuff. This is stuff that you can learn and take control over. So cultivate the ability to look for information when there's something you're worried about. And now we have, of course, the internet and everything where we can find out all kinds of stuff about all sorts of things. I think there's a book that came out recently. It's all about making lists as a stress management technique.
Right.
And
yeah.
I'm amazed that you could make a whole book about that, but that's a very reliable thing. And that I always recommend that to my insomniac clients. If you wake up and you're overwhelmed, just make a list. Just write down all the stuff that you think you can do about this tomorrow. Promise yourself you're going to go over the list tomorrow and then go back to sleep. And that really, really helps. Maintain a good social network, not just for the emotional support, but resources, networking. Who can you call for different problems that might come up? Mm-hmm. And also just keeping track of your resources and managing them and not forgetting about them. A lot of times, especially with women, but some men too, learning better communication skills is a great way to manage interpersonal stress. There are some people who come away from an encounter and are very upset about it, and it's like, I should have said this and I should have said that. And if you learn how to manage your physiological response to the stress of an encounter with someone, if you can control your breathing and stay in the moment, you can say what needs to be said and have a better outcome from that conversation. Also, it's easier to ask for the things you need and not asking for the things we need frequently adds to stress in our lives. again, I recommended journaling before, and there's good research in the happiness and positive psychology field. Just write down some good stuff every day and focus on that moment, at least momentarily. And finally, if you do find yourself distracting yourself all the time to cope with stress, that can help for a little while. But in general, if you overdo TV and everything, you end up missing out on a lot of good stuff that happens, like moments with your children, moments with your spouse. If you rush through a meal, you didn't get to enjoy that food. And so simplifying the joys in life and appreciating them is another sort of cognitive exercise that really helps people alleviate stress.